tired, to tell you the truth. My daughter and I, good morning everyone on the webinar. My daughter and I had a really big weekend. As you can see, I'm not quite ready this morning. Yeah, my daughter and I had a really big weekend. We actually took down some trees, or had someone come and unfortunately take trees down in our yard that desperately needed to be taken down, so they didn't pull the house down. And some of the trees they couldn't actually chip up, and so we had to pile them up and bind them and all that sort of stuff for the council to come and take them. So yeah, it was one of those weekends. It was a bit full on. I'm slightly sunburnt, and we had a ball in our own way. So let's get to it. Today we're talking about the subtleties of stuck emotions, and I'm going to share my screen and see if I can show from the beginning. Awesome. So I'll just get straight into it, won't I? No one wants to hear me carrying on. So today we're talking about the subtleties of stuck emotions. And good morning, Tam. How are you? Good morning, Rhea. And I will just quickly check to see if anyone is on the chat on the webinar. And they're saying good morning. I'm just going to put that up there. So, as always, there may be people on here that have no idea about who I am, and I haven't had the pleasure to meet. So my name is Elizabeth Eleanor, and I have a Facebook group or Facebook page called Elizabeth Eleanor, the Spiritual Warrior. So if you're on here on Facebook, you're actually watching on that. And I also have a Facebook group called Women of Light. And so I've been a remedial massage therapist and energy healer for well over 18, 20 years. And it's a process that you sort of go through when you've had a challenging childhood, which a lot of people have, right? I'm one of, I'd say most of us have had some sort of challenge through our childhood. I'd say everyone actually has had some sort of childhood trauma or dis-ease in some way. And so when you're going through that and you're deeply unconsciously aware that there's something deeper within you and that you're not this person, you go through this journey, right? And part of that is working out why you're stuck in certain emotions. Why I used to have a real challenge with talking, believe it or not. So I actually had my whole throat chakra would actually seize, and I couldn't intake food. It was that intense. So I actually went through a period of time, not that long, but it was a period of time when I was anorexic and I could have been put into hospital. They were this close to admitting me. And it was because of this conflict. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, Kelly. So it was because of this conflict that I had, or challenge with confrontation. And so I actually found that speaking and expressing myself was really, really challenging. And so I actually couldn't physically express myself. So I used to shut down. And when I moved into my first relationship, I would sulk. In a way, it would be sulking, right? Because he was very much a strong energy and had a very definite family structure and three feminist, two sisters and a feminist mother. And so very strong, powerful women in his life. And I didn't know how to cope with that. So when I was unsure of how to respond or how to react to something, I would just completely shut down. And some people call it passive aggressive in a way, because I would shut down, couldn't talk, and I would just go and hibernate by myself. And so he would try and pull it out of me, and it was just really, really challenging. It was a really challenging way to start a relationship. We did that for 10 years, Nellie. And so I'm sure that there's people on here that have had some form of resistance and emotional upset that happens in your body from past experiences, the way you've been brought up. You know, like some people even have the experience of they're deep thinkers and they deeply process. And so as children, they would deeply process and were told that they were depressed, when actually they were just deeply processing. So, you know, you get caught up in what you're told, as well as emotions get stuck in the body. And we're going to talk about that now, right? So let me just quickly see the chat. Good morning, Diane. Good morning, Christine. And so let's start with the core issues, right? So emotions that can be core issues are issues that carries significant disruptive energy. Like they're the ones that have been around for a long time. They're generally easy to recognize, and sometimes they're not, because they're really deep-seated. So for example, the really deep core issues can be things like rejection, feeling abandoned, anger, having control issues from fear. So one of the best ways to identify negative patterns is to see what we're attracting in our relationships. Who's around us? Who are the people that are influencing us on a regular basis and that we're continually in communication with? And are we triggered by those relationships? What keeps on coming up? What is the core issue that someone says something, you get angry? Someone says something, you feel rejected. Someone says something, you get shy and you self-isolate. There's a, you know, everyone has something that an abandonment can be the underlying of all of them in one way or another, because separation comes from deep, deep, deep within us, from when we separate, when we were born, and all of a sudden we're separated from the womb that held us so securely and so safely. And all of a sudden we're out here, we're breathing in air, you know, like the first time using our lungs, the environment. And if we didn't have a good experience when we first were born, that can be a really deep core issue that can be coming up, because that's the very first experience as humans, as us, that we experienced. And so it's really deeply set inside us ourselves. So experiencing negative emotions reinforces or creates an emotional pattern. Just looking at my cat generally decides now is the time to come back in after being let out. So when you have a negative experience or emotion, often is either creating an emotional pattern within you, or is reinforcing one that's already there, right? So there's definitely layers. So the first emotion that you end up experience isn't necessarily the core issue that's coming, like that's really, really deep. So observe your patterns of reaction when you have a interaction with someone or something. Find yourself upset in that situation. You're probably reacting from a conditioned response. So someone says something or something happens and you go into blame. That's a really big one for a lot of people. They make excuses. They blame the other experience outside of themselves. You know, blame is a really big one because it's a defensive mechanism to some deeper underlying situation. So when you find yourself reacting to something, look to see what you're feeling in your body. Now, this is an opportunity. Are you going to keep that pattern going? Are you going to stay in that behavior? Or are you actually going to break that pattern? And this is a really big question, right? Because sometimes I'm just giving an example. I have someone that's very personal in my life, so I won't name names. And she has a very, very strong, unforgiving, bitter energy towards her parents. And over, oh, this is someone I've had in my life all my life. And over again, I've explained that, like, they're dead. They're not even alive anymore. And she will not let go of this unforgiveness. And so saying to that person or anyone, letting go of the emotion is for you. It's not for the other person, because it's you that's in pain. It's you that's feeling this discord, this, vibration that's just tormenting, and as a contrast to who you are, right? And so when you let go of it, doesn't justify the experience. It doesn't actually say they did the right thing or that they were taken off the hook, right? However, it lets go of the energy inside your body. It's you that you requires freedom from that vibration. So just something to be aware of. Without self-awareness, you may feel the surface emotions and be unaware of the core emotion residing deep within, which is what I was just saying, right? You may, for example, your core issue may be rejection. However, the first feelings are disrespect and blame. So you might have an interaction with someone or something, and like you feel disrespected and you blame them for whatever they've done. But actually underneath is a really deep-seated feeling of rejection or abandonment, for example. So feelings can be triggered by sound, touch, smell, all of these things. So sound could be communication. It could be, a touch. It could be a particular way someone's touched you or something like that. And smell can bring up issues as well, or blocked emotions. And then unchecked can spiral, building momentum as it goes. And all of a sudden, you're like deep within it, and how did I get here? And how do I get myself out of it? So to change that requires introspection and self-discovery. Being aware, okay, I've just had an interaction with whatever it is, whether it be a person or a situation. I've just had this interaction. This has brought up a feeling for me. Pick up the feeling the very first time. It really requires self-awareness to go, okay, something's brought me down. I feel a lower vibration in my body. And that's the true essence of it. When our bodies hold the answer to self-discovery and mastery, right? So when you understand the situation, which is the mental, okay, something's just happened. In that process, discover what you need to learn from it. Okay, something's just happened. This is bringing up an old pattern, an old experience. I feel this before, I've felt this before, I've felt it in my body. So you access your physical body, and because emotions are stored in the cellular memory, right? And they also reside in organs or regions of the body that have a corresponding vibrational frequency. So, if you may have heard that, the liver is where we feel grief. Fear is the kidneys, I'm pretty sure. So there's various different organs or regions of the body, for example, that have a similar vibration, and also in the limbic brain, which is at the limbic brain is sort of at the back of the head, right? And so that's where we hold all our emotions and stored feelings that are locked in there. So they're on a cellular level, And so they can be from a past life or a past experience, for example. So you may find that something comes up for you where you're in an argument and you feel attacked. And from a past experience, that attack brings up a feeling of being killed, or, like you go into survival mode when you're attacked because you've had an experience where attack has caused death before. And so you unless you have that introspection or that discovery or opportunity to learn from the situation and deeply reflect on it, sometimes those feelings go like, why do I feel like this when it was just a discussion, for example? Why am I feeling so deeply fearful of this situation, like it's a life or death situation, when it was actually just a minor argument or something like that? So being aware of where you hold these things in your body can also support you to release them out of your system. I have just recently had a major shift in my life where my mum had a heart attack. Most of you on here would know that. Mum had a heart attack, and through that process, I was I was just about to move out, right? And the first thing, before she had the heart attack, she fell through a glass plate window. Luckily, fell back in instead of going all the way through, or could have been disaster and end of story at that point. Then all her electricity went off. This is while I was at her house, and I'm like, okay, obviously I can't move. So I went through the process. Okay, I'm here. What am I doing here? Where do I hold myself emotionally in this? And then she had a heart attack. And then when I rang the ambulance that time, then she came home. I had to ring the ambulance again. Then she came home and I had to ring the ambulance again. And the second time that I rang the ambulance, she actually lost consciousness. She stopped breathing. Her eyes rolled up. They were just about to talk me through CPR, and she came back again, luckily, right? So you can imagine, with 3 ambulance 000 phone calls, all the doctors, social workers, OT, nurses, ACAP or whatever they call it, ACAT, mum not wanting to be in a nursing home, her not, like, everyone saying she's got to be in a nursing home. She's still working, brain's still functioning, so she's got the last say, and yet she's now actually bedbound. So she can't get out of bed even to go to the shower or to the toilet. And so it's been a massive, massive experience that I've gone through in the last, I don't think anyone could go through that experience as holding the space of the 5th dimension all the way through, unless you are Jesus, of course, right? And then he would have healed her in the first place. But what happened was, I happened to have a really big container. So emotionally, I was holding space really well. I was working on my business still. I was running, I think it was 15 women through a 12-week online program, and still turning up and doing the sessions with them. Like, all the way through, I was being able to hold this container, and yet my body was not. My body started going into these places where my hands were shaking, my eyes started twitching right at the end. My body was saying, okay, Elizabeth, you really need some time to yourself, and you need some nurturing and something to reflect on yourself and shifting through that, right? Where I'm going with this is that through that process, my hips started playing up. I started having issues. I had sciatica for the very first time in my whole life. I was a massage therapist for 20 odd years. And now I totally resonate. I have empathy for everyone that had come to me for sciatic challenges, because, oh my gosh, is it a full-on experience. Luckily for me, I've got all the tools and resources to be able to shift that. Through that process, as soon as it was hips and it was tailbone, I just went straight into introspection. Okay, why is this happening to me? Hips is, this is where my emotional feminine bowl is. So this was all about the self and the feminine nurturing, and about holding space for everyone else. And that's where you support that part of your body is support as well. And lower back, I'd never had lower back problems, and here I was having lower back challenges and not being able to sleep. And so all of those things, even though emotionally I felt like I was holding the space well for myself, my body was saying there's something else going on that you really need to stop, and you really need to listen to yourself. And so our physical body, if you've got physical ailments that are going on in your body, then there's something to reflect on, because they would have cellular memory. Emotions are stored in your body. And so when you've got something physical happening, the first thing I start doing is I look at the emotions. What is happening for me emotionally that I am storing in that part of my body? So that's really a great way to have a look and awareness. If you've got something going on in your system, what is it that's happening on an emotional level that you could actually reflect on and potentially release from an emotional level to help the physical body shift? So the most important part of freedom: finding a peaceful resolution requires equal respect, not more conflict. So if you're looking at raising your vibration and moving from the third dimension into a higher state of consciousness, then it's time now. It's actually time now. We are in an opportune time, space, reality at the moment where the earth is shifting into the fifth dimension. COVID is a breaking down. COVID and many other things. There's been many things that have, been supporting people to break patterns and shift on a collective consciousness what's going on the planet. And so this is an opportunity to be doing that as a self-reflection too. Am I going to stay in the third dimension where I'm stuck in I did this, you did that, in this duality of cause and effect, right? Or are you going to step out of that for yourself first, for those around you and for the planet, so that you can shift those energies and break those patterns and shift and come to a higher place inside yourself? It does take awareness and it does take diligence to do that. So peace requires meeting a negative response pattern with a higher frequency and operating from an internal place of peace. So when you find something coming up, bringing some awareness to it. So you can access tools to do this as well. Breathing, releasing through your breath. Meditation and reflection, having time, writing things down, journaling if you're someone that journals, writing down, this happened, this is how I feel, these are the recurring thoughts that came up. And then feeling into your body, where in my body am I experiencing this? Now, let's rewrite that into a different place. So if this is something that you feel is not, you've got a recurring thought or an emotion that just is too deep for you and you need someone, mentoring and counseling is also a really beautiful way to talk to someone outside of yourself, to, a professional in some way that has the opportunity to self-reflect with you and to give some tools. Sound and toning are another beautiful way. Essential oils, that's what I use. So when I had that thing with my hips, I went to, I looked at what the emotion was, and I took my oils and I placed it on my tailbone. I also had on the back of my neck, and there was different affirmations that I was saying or declarations to clear that energy from that emotional part of my body. So there's so many different ways of being able to look at shifting those energies for yourself, or getting some support to be able to do it as well. If you're on the webinar and this is your first time and you are not connected on Facebook, that little fuzzy pattern there is called a QR code. Get your phone and have some fun with it, because it's really funky when you, well, actually everyone's getting used to that, right? Because we have to go into, if you're in New South Wales or Queensland, I'm sure the same in Queensland, then you see those codes nearly every single place you go where you've got to check in to sit down and eat or go somewhere. Even when I went to the computer guy the other day, I had to check in with one of those codes. So everyone seems to know how to use them these days. So you get your camera and you just put it on there. And if you want to connect through the QR code onto my business page, you can. If it's, oh, I think I'm going to sneeze. My nose just got all itchy. That's really interesting, because there's another thing. All these things actually mean something, right? If you have something that has resonated here, a challenge that's come up for you, or now you're being able to reflect and go, oh my gosh, here's this deep-seated thing that I was unaware of, and the cycle's here, and I just need someone to talk it through, then get in contact with me. Put yes please in the chat here, on the webinar as well, or on the Facebook page, and I will give you a booking link so that we can have a free 30-minute chat. I call them conscious assessment calls, so that we can look at where you are consciously and see where we can get you instead. For those that are new here, I actually have a half-day event coming up called Embodying Your Intuition. It's on October the 17th. It's actually 9 till about 1 o'clock. And we're going to be going through all of this sort of stuff. This is the sort of stuff that I was born to support people with. And I say that boldly, that I can actually say that. I've really recently been getting some major downloads on stepping up to support, especially women. However, I've got a few men that I support as well. And to step up and get these lower vibrations out of your body and to move into abundance and being a conscious creator. And so just recently, I'm really getting more passionate, but I'm getting downloaded with step up myself, step up and do this, because, you know, being humble can be challenging sometimes when you go, who am I to be sharing this stuff with people? And yet I know that I'm just here to reflect with others so that they can see their light. That's all I do, is just share with you so that you can remember who you are. So if you're someone that would like to go to the half day, just put half day in the chat. Good morning, Irene. That must mean it's 9 o'clock. So just put in the chat half day and we'll send you the link to that and give you some more information. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and week. Here we are on the start of Monday. What is it that you're going to create this week? This is a great way to start the week. A bit of dose of sunshine, bit of opportunity to reflect. What is it that you're going to be looking at, shifting and moving closer towards your end goal of being a vibrant, supported, empowered being? What is it that you're going to be working on all week to achieve more and more of that? Take care, everyone, and I will catch up with you again soon. See ya. Thank you, everyone. on the webinar. I'll just stop this because I'm going to start talking. And let me just check to see. I've got a few people that have messaged on here. Rebecca, I'll send you the link. I'm assuming that that's for the half day. So I'll send you the half day link as well. Okay, ladies, take care, and I will see you through the week. Bye.